Today we're going to be talking about the iPad Pro. I want to talk about a few of the things that I absolutely love. Like after using this for about 8 months, it's been 8 months is quite a long time. I want to talk about the 5 biggest reasons why I like the iPad Pro and why I can actually use the iPad Pro as my only computing device. And I have a caveat for that, and we'll get to that in a little bit when we talk about some of the cons to this device. But in the past 8 months, the 5 things that I've loved the most about this, the first one is this, that it is so incredibly mobile. Now for me, when I'm working anywhere in the world, I can only last for about 30 minutes in that place, and then I've got to move around. And I don't know why this is, but for some reason, I get inspiration by moving to a different room in the house or moving to a coffee shop or going into my office at work. I just like to move around a lot, and having something as thin and as light as an iPad Pro, that's really helpful. It's just been so interesting to me that I've always had a MacBook Pro for like forever. And my MacBook Pro is an M3 Max, a very nice MacBook Pro. And yet most of the time I find myself just grabbing my iPad Pro and heading out the door. A lot of times I have a backpack with me, but sometimes I don't want that. And I just want to grab the smallest, lightest possible thing that I can grab to go and get real work done. And when I grab the M4 iPad Pro, I know that it has the power to do anything I need. Plus, it has all-day battery life that's just gonna last forever and ever as I'm trying to do regular everyday work. And I go through these kind of ebbs and flows in everything, with content creation and everything. I go through these setups where I want absolutely the lightest possible, smallest little package of something, to having a full-blown camera and all that kind of stuff. I just kind of oscillate between those two sides, and I've kind of noticed myself more consistently going with the lighter setup with the iPad Pro than bringing my laptop, bringing a book bag, all that kind of stuff, if essentially I'm going to get the same exact kind of work done on my iPad Pro as I would on something like my laptop. Now, iPad OS has come a long way. It is still a little bit clunky. You can plug it into monitors and all that, and that's really helpful. It's a really cool tool. It's still just a little bit more clunky than if you're just using a MacBook Pro. And so if you're a single, only one device kind of person, I probably still say go for the MacBook Pro or the MacBook Air. But just being able to kind of pick up and work anywhere is really nice. The other thing is the standby battery on iPads is like second to none. I mean, I could literally, put this thing in kind of the clamshell with the Magic Keyboard. I could leave it for days and days and days and days, and the battery life has only dropped like 1 or 2%. It's absolutely crazy, the standby battery life on these things. And so getting work done anywhere, it's really good for that. All right, the next thing we need to talk about is the fact that with this iPad, I can be more focused than I can with a computer. I love how versatile a MacBook Pro can be, but because I have kind of endless possibilities, I can also be really easily distracted. I can have so many different apps open and different windows open. If I have a large screen display in front of me, I can just have countless things open. And some people might find that helpful in their productivity workflow. I don't. I'm more of the kind of person where I want one app open at a time, and if I need to, I'll kind of command tab over to the other ones. I just get more work done that way. So when I have the iPad Pro in the Magic Keyboard and I've got a writing app open, or I've got kind of my Bible app open as a pastor, that's what I do a whole lot. I just find it that I'm so much less distracted by having kind of endless possibilities of what you can do. The fact that the iPad Pro and iPad OS in general just has a lot of barriers for you, it kind of keeps me more online. And so if you're somebody like me, you got all sorts of different projects going on and different areas of work going on, having something that's just less distracting, it's a help no matter what. Now I've tried using Sidecar on this thing, and that helps you kind of get a lot other apps kind of on the screen at the same time that you can switch out. I just don't like that. I like having just one thing at a time, and when I do that, I can get into a deep flow state of work. If you've never heard of kind of the flow state, it's where you're working on one thing and you're doing such good deep work that you're kind of just getting into this rhythm where it's kind of time feels like it passes without you noticing it, and you just get so much good work done. I do that a lot on the iPad. When I'm on something like my MacBook Pro, I'm going on Reddit or different social media things, I just don't find myself doing that as much when I'm on an iPad. If I was on my phone, I probably still would do that. I'd probably still get distracted, but for some reason, just the limitations of an iPad and what I'm trying to do with it, it's just kind of distraction free for me. Hey, real quick, I want to thank today's sponsor, Smart Devil. Smart Devil creates these really easy to put on screen protectors that are really strong. They're scratch resistant, fingerproof resistant, drop and shatter resistant. If you've ever dropped an iPad, that's a kind of shocking moment where you're like, oh my gosh, I've paid so much money for this device, and is the screen going to be shattered? If you get a Smart Devil Book Flip Series screen protector, it is just incredible to have that peace of mind that no matter what you do with your iPad, it is going to be safe. I'll show you this. I've even taken a screwdriver to an iPad with this thing and didn't get any scratches on it at all. It's robust, it's strong, and it's so easy to put on. And that's one of the things I like about it the most, is just how easy it is to put on. The other cool thing that's helpful with these Smart Devil screen protectors is the fact that they are high sensitivity. If you've ever put on a screen protector and you kind of touch your phone and it doesn't really work, these ones are really good with that. Every time you tap the screen, it actually registers your touch in the moment. And so I really highly recommend getting a Smart Devil screen protector. Go ahead and click the link in the description of this video to find yours today. Thank you again, Smart Devil, for sponsoring today's video. Now, the next thing that I really love about the iPad Pro is actually how well it pairs with something like a Mac Mini. Now, for a lot of people, they don't want to have a Mac Mini setup and an iPad setup and a MacBook setup. They don't want to have all those different things going for them as their ecosystem kind of evolves. They would rather have something like the $500 Mac Mini, which, if we can talk about that, man, that $500 M4 Mac Mini is just phenomenal for what it is. I mean, great port selection, great, computing power, but it is a stationary device, and so you can't bring it on the go. Whereas when you take something like a Mac Mini for $500 and then you get yourself an iPad Pro, you have both a very powerful, very capable mobile setup and a very powerful, very capable desktop setup. For me, one of the caveats for kind of like why I don't go completely 100% iPad is that I don't like video editing on something like an iPad. I like to have, multiple screens. I like to have a bit more powerful of a PC when I do that. And so a lot of times I'll use the iPad Pro when I'm out and about, and then I'll come home and I need to do my video editing, and I'll get on my Mac Mini at my desk station and I'll do it there. And so for me, I kind of love the best of both worlds of having a very cheap but very powerful desktop and a very, very, very mobile computing setup. All right, the final reason why I think you should buy the iPad Pro in 2025, and you could possibly make it your only setup, is the fact that the Magic Keyboard is so incredible. For me, the Magic Keyboard is possibly my favorite Apple accessory of all time. So here's the thing. First and foremost, it's pretty thin. Yes, it does kind of double the thickness of the iPad. Yes, it does kind of double the heaviness of the iPad, but it is incredibly capable for what it is. Now, when you open this thing up, it is a little top heavy, and so if you're just using it on your lap, it could kind of fall backwards, but I use it on my lap all the time, and I don't have a big problem with that at all. I love that, on the old Magic Keyboard, it stuck out above the keys a little bit more, and so you'd kind of tap it with your fingers while you're trying to use it. This one has more angles that it can go, which is really cool, but the biggest thing of all for me is just the fact that the keyboard feels so good when you type on it. I don't know what they did. I don't know why it's so different from something like the MacBook, but man, for some reason, the keys on this thing just feel absolutely phenomenal. I could type with this thing all day. I'm a really fast typer, and so I fly through documents when I'm working on this. I love that it has a function row. That's really helpful for me, but just the overall feel of the trackpad with the haptic engine in the trackpad and the feel of the keyboard, I could not have an iPad without this keyboard, the Magic Keyboard attachment. I love it. I don't use an Apple Pencil all that much. Otherwise, I'd comment on it a little bit more. I think it's really cool. If you're an artist, that's really great. If you take a lot of handwritten notes on that, that's great. But when I do my handwritten notes, I just use field notes. That's my favorite thing to use. And so I love the Magic Keyboard. I think it's a fantastic, fantastic tool if you are going to go iPad Pro only. And if you do that, I really think you can use this as your only device. Yes, iPad OS is still a little bit clunky, but it is just such a great kind of distraction-free, focused device. So I think if you got one of these in 2025, you would absolutely love your purchase. Yes, it's a lot of money, and you are getting up close to MacBook Air territory when you get the Magic Keyboard with the iPad Pro. I totally understand that, but for what it is, if it exists completely in a vacuum, I think it's a phenomenal, phenomenal tool, and I love using it every day. The only iPad I like more than this is probably the iPad Mini, so if you like iPad Minis, go ahead and watch this video right here. Thanks for watching, guys. Like this video if you found it helpful. Sub to the channel. We're on the way to 10,000. See you guys in the next one.